fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel where today, it's that day. We've wrapped up the arc and we're going to talk about it this month and get your opinions on it and provide feedback based on what you've said. And let's be honest, a lot of feedback lately has been pretty negative. And that's exactly what we've told the dev team and shown the dev team and giving visual examples. But before we start this month's survey, I want to show you the results of last month's because I think that y'all like to appreciate that. So we've been tracking this for now 13 months, and I've gone ahead and put it in bold and made it a little bit easier for you to see, but it was patch 62 was January. So that was Enterprise Part 1. The big thing to really focus on these, and this is what we talk about with the dev team, is to focus on the swing percentage. And because you're going to have people who just hate it no matter what, who like it no matter what, and defining the variance is how does it swing positive to negative. And you could arguably say this is the second worst month in the past year, or January was rather, with only that September month, which was an abysmal month, performing worse. So we're going to talk about that in terms of, we're going to talk about this month now and go through it. If y'all have never done that before, well, don't worry, it's quite easy. So how we do this is we have a Google survey. This is all done by players. So Scopely has no input in any of this, but we do use the data to give to Scopely. In fact, I have a couple people that we talk to in game design, live ops, etc. We showed them the data points based on what y'all said. So we're going to get your opinion on this guy, Jonathan Archer. We're going to get your opinion on the NX-01 and everything else. All you simply do is get this document, which is in the description and in the comments down below, and fill it out. And there you go. So we're going to start with, as we always do, the officers. So Kawinky Dink, we've got one of them pulled up right here, Jonathan Archer. Now here's the thing about Jonathan Archer. Jonathan Archer is a must-have. You definitely want Jonathan Archer for the loot ability. The drawback, there's no way to get him. And then they pulled the third SLB, which I'm sure will affect some of your scores when it comes to event grading. They've said, customer support has said that there will be ways to source him in the next couple of weeks. They're going to add him to events. So there are going to be ways that they're going to do that. If y'all missed that announcement, we did talk about it on stream. So they're going to go and, again, I think this is a good thing, add a couple of events in that we can, source some Archer shards. I'm not saying it's going to be a lot, but if you were maybe 2, 5, etc. short, you end up with him. So as an officer, I think he's pretty good. Faith of the Heart is an okay ability. It's never really going to be great unless you max him out. But the immediate ability is fantastic. Now, you actually had 3 officers added this month. You have Picard Hugh that you can actually start sourcing immediately if you have the NX-01, which is a mining officer, and an interesting repair officer. Not super exciting, but I will think that he'll be useful at the end of your ship down the road if you end up going after him. Personally, I'm focusing on other things this arc. So then your last but not least is going to be Shram, who is an Andorian mining officer, so crystal mining speed, and then run from no one, which is a warp speed bonus. Can't really see a ton of personal value. Again, y'all decide for yourselves. So how we do these is I typically will do a neutral grade so that I don't influence it, and I'll give you mine at the very end. Let's move on to the ship though, because the ship is the big one for the month. We got the NX-01 entering into the game, and I am torn on the NX-01. There are things I love about the NX-01, there are things I hate. Here's what I dislike about the NX-01. It is a one-trick pony. It is the Franklin. That said, it's really good at its loop in terms of what it's supposed to do. We are trying to get them to make it to where the special ability does not only work on aquatics. They are considering making it more effective versus the regular Xindi hostiles. We'll see how that goes. But more importantly, it's the refinery that it opens up. So we do our faction pulls pretty regularly. That's pretty common. In X-Borg, you want to do your Xindi scrap. But the refinery for the NX-01 is fantastic. Not only do you have immediate sourcing if you're level 40 plus for the NX-01, which I think is a huge bonus. We actually got day 1 sourcing. They gave you 10 blueprints as a gift day 1 if y'all entered in the code on the website. And the refinery is going to dramatically increase the amount of rare, epic, and uncommon X-Borg credits that you are constantly earning. It actually is a very good payout. It actually is very nice, and it came with the refit, which Scopely charges $50 for, as immediate sourcing day 1. Like, even though the NX-01 is currently very limited to what it can do, and we've talked about it in its own video of why it has certain limitations, it is super good when it comes to its refinery, as in what it actually gives the average player and how it allows you to progress in the game and through that loop. All these things are bonuses. The fact that the Picard refit is literally day one free-to-play grindable. It takes 40 days if you're doing free per. The fact that the ship is free-to-play grindable day one, assuming you're level 40 plus and doing your grind, I think are positives. Negative is, well, negative is what it is. The negative is the fact that it's a one-trick pony. It literally is indie aquatics only. So you kind of have to do your grade on that. I'll let y'all decide. I'll give you my grade towards the end of it. Next up, we're going to talk about features. Now, you will notice that we've included on some of these an NA. So if you are under the operations 40, I don't expect you to add. I know a lot of y'all have been asking for that, so there it is. But features this month. Number one, how do you grade the features? Again, I'm just going to put a C. But Holodeck Extension, Enterprise E officer sourcing, I think this was a wonderful addition to the game for the average player. The only drawback is going to take a long time to upgrade this building. The costs are very high, but as you go through it every 5 levels, you're actually gonna be able to unlock Enterprise E officers. If y'all haven't seen that yet, let me show you how that works. So go to your officer menu, hit recruit, scroll all the way to the right past the transporter patterns, and you're gonna see the holodeck right here. Inside the holodeck, at every level, you'll be able to, or every 5 levels, get more shards to these officers, so you can see Enterprise E data right there. So that's how you're going to get Enterprise E data, which is an incredibly valuable officer in today's game, and then Enterprise E Troy and Picard. Now it's set to give you a full unlock of these 2 rares and half of an epic, which is pretty good as you level up the building. How long will it take you? Well, that's kind of up to you, but I do think that in terms of as a feature, that is a fantastic add for the average player, especially if you're a newer player watching this video, letting you start working on some of those things early on. I think that's good. Then you got the Indie Aquatic Loop, which I'll let players decide on that. As far as loops go, again, if you have the NX-01, it's a good loop, as in the payouts are way better than the regular Zindy loop. I would argue that the Zindy Aquatic loop is a good loop as far as loops go. I don't like grinds like any of y'all. I get tired of the constant grindings, but if I could pick between just doing Zindy Aquatic and just doing Zindy Reptilian, I would always go Aquatic, but you kind of have to do both. So y'all decide what you want to grade it there. So I'm just going to move on to the next part. Grading the event calendar. This one's going to be another one that's kind of like, may have some recently hurt feelings, and I understand that with the XSL or the XSLB being the change for the leaderboard. But as a whole, how do y'all think the month rolled out? Personally, I think there were some very high value, great payout events like the Explorer, Battleship, and Intercept Hunters. I thought the ticket events, as per normal, were very good. And then you add a unique new style of event, the Valentine's Day event, which also has your ability to say whether you liked it or disliked it right here. And in early testing, a lot of people have said they did like it. In fact, I'll go ahead and tell you, I loved the Valentine's one because it was a reward for grinders and not just spenders. We know there's always SLBs and heroics that reward spenders for spending. And feel free to spend. It's your money and ain't my money. Spend it. As long as you're not spending my money, I don't really give a dang what you do with your money. Don't spend revs and I'm happy. But I do want there to be things that grinders can actually go after. And high active alliances and grinders were able to really take advantage of that. So y'all vote on that as you will. Moving on to the next one. Communication. Really felt like this month that was not the greatest. In fact, we were missing some communication. It was spotty. Y'all decide. I'm not going to eat up a lot of y'all's time on that when y'all kind of have an idea of whether the game communicates well. And stability. You let me know. And do you feel like it was a quality over quantity month? Probably going to hit that one. So there's the next. I'm going to clear the form, and this is where I'm going to tell you what I had this month. So we've gone over the basics of how it works. This is going to use my main account here. Officers. Well, I'm torn here. It definitely can't be A+ because there wasn't early sourcing, but the usability is fantastic for a lot of them. I'm going to give it a solid B. Picard Hugh does have immediate sourcing, even though Archer doesn't, and Shran was kind of like battle pass locked, but you also really want Archer, and Hugh's a good officer. So I'm going to give it a B. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's a B. Ship grading. This one's going to be really tough, and I'm sorry if y'all disagree. It's completely okay to disagree, but I give the NX-01 an A for one for two reasons. Number one, immediate sourcing, and number two, actual value when you have it. Now, if I was grading the ship just based on the ship, as in just the NX-01 go out and doing its thing, it's a D, because it's literally just a one-trick pony that's crap. But like, it can't do really anything outside of its loop unless it gets augmented. However, it's actually good at its loop, but what its loop gives you, and the fact that they included free-to-play pathing for the ship, free-to-play pathing for an officer, free-to-play pathing for a refit, all together in the launch month, to me is good. Right? I'm not arguing the NX-01 as it sits is a good ship, but what it gives you is good, so I give it a positive grading. You are more than welcome to disagree with that, but that's what I really feel, because it gives you so much through that refinery. It's basically kind of how like the Defiant is really not that great, but the Defiant is huge for helping with your Bajoran loop, and the Bajoran store is incredible. You know what I mean? Feels very similar to that to me. Features, Torn, Enterprise E, Officer Sourcing a Holodeck, fantastic. Love that. Zindy Aquatic Loop, solid. But here's what I'm going to say. Overall, adding grind to the game is never going to get a positive grade for me, so the best I'm going to give you is mids. Even though I like these, like individually in a vacuum, collectively to the game, I'm not happy. Collectively to the game, I'm not happy. So I'm going to give it a C, and I feel like that's me being generous. But I do think that this was fantastic, and I do think that the aquatic loop is better than the reptilian loop because of what you're getting in more grinding. All right, event calendar. I like the event calendar. I did not like the just random change of the XSLB to the leaderboard. Wasn't necessarily unexpected. They're doing a lot of those type of changes lately. I understand a lot of people will be frustrated by that. As a whole, though, as the month went, I thought it was a very good paying month with very good events, and I love the Valentine's Day events. I'm going to give it a solid B. I don't think it was a bad month. Grading communication, again, I feel like this is a constant problem, and I would even say that due to the level of problems this month with communication, I'm actually going to fail communication. You know, you didn't really have a lot of the community managers assisting. You had multiple issues, lack of communication, and change to events. When you did have the Android issue for the subset of Android issue users or Android users that were having issues, there was basically just no communication on how that was going to work, how that was being addressed, or any forewarning that that was going to be a problem. Just a complete bomb on comms for me. And then stability. Here's the bad one for some of y'all. The Unity 2021 update, if it didn't wreck your, for example, Samsung A13, has helped most players in terms of stability. I did think that was a good improvement. I don't know if I can say the stability is perfect, but I mean, for me, I had zero issues all month on any device, whether it's my older Samsung S21 that's literally 3 years old and quite literally like you can get the back to fall off of it. Like I've dropped this thing a gabillion times and it's all eat up and everything. But anyway, the point I'm making is, yeah, see, look at that thing just coming off. Like, come on. This thing is still running Star Trek Fleet Command perfectly. But whether or not you were affected, I do think that the update was important. And even as the name implies, Unity 2021 is not the freshest update. So I think stability was good. I still don't feel like it was a quality over quantity month, but those are my numbers. Now it's your turn in the comment section down below. You provide your feedback. You let me know what you think. Live long and plunder. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys. Deuces. That's me. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video. And if you have any questions about any of this, feel free to hit me up privately. I'm always open. My DMs are always open. Phrasing.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.